Delta has announced that the company is making some big changes ESG wise. So why don't you play the clip one?
All right, clip
Matt.
one. Here we go.
Here we go.
And we are announcing that starting March 1st, Delta Airlines will become the first airline to go fully carbon neutral on a global basis.
All right, so that's the big news. And this is the thing, right? Like this is 2020 is the year of the greenwash. So the question is, are they really? I mean, who's going to keep tabs of this? And the great thing, of course, is that the CNBC's host reaction to this is it's twofold. And I just play the clip and then we can talk about it. This is how.
And a lot of people are going to do a double take. An airline becoming carbon neutral is a bit of a reversal of how we think about things, given that airlines, at least as far as I know it, are going to be based on using fossil fuels for as long as we can possibly imagine. How much is this going to cost on an annual basis?
All right, so Matt. So okay, what is it? Is he either like has no idea how to talk about these issues, or does he not believe Delta CEO Ed Bastian? Because he's like tongue tied, he's stuttering, he's stumbling, he doesn't know what to say.
Well, two things stand out. Okay, yeah. to the reaction. One thing, can I play it really quickly again? Here, listen.
Airlines, at least as far as I know it, are going to be based on using fossil fuels.
Airlines, as far as I know, are going to be using fossil fuels. As far as I know.
Oh, here, quickly play clip 3 because Ed really draws this is a real win for environmental science. Play clip 3.
I don't ever see a future that we're eliminating jet fuel from our footprint.
So there you go.
All right, so he answers that part. As far as I know,
let's get that straight. Like,
in order to fly,
we're never actually gonna.
We need to light something on fire in order to fly. Yeah. That's basically what that comes down to. But
get over it.
But the second part was, how much is this going to cost? Okay.
That's why I included that in the clip, because that's what we always come down to here, right? It's like he can't even like celebrate maybe the idea of going carbon neutral. He's just like, well, this is going to be too expensive, right? Like, can we afford this?
Are we at the point where that's the wrong question? Because what is the alternative? Let's say Delta comes out and says, like their CEO goes on CNBC and says, just for the record, we are never going to be carbon neutral, and we are going to light as much shit on fire as we can to fly you around the world. Let's say that that's his quote. Mm-hmm. Is he going to say, well, how much is that going to cost?
No.
Like, he's never going to say that, right? So we only view this through the lens of one particular cost, which is cost. I mean, the embedded question is, how much revenue am I as a shareholder going to lose for you not doing that? Not saying what is the unintentional cost of you doing that.
Right. So it's like, it's like, oh, great, you're going to save the world, but how much is it going to cost? All right, just play clip 4, and Delta CEO Ed Bastian can answer that. How much is it going to cost?
We estimate about $1 billion over this decade, close to $100 million a year.
And I will say this, that you don't see the video, but he's like proud as a peacock when he's saying this. Like, this is the biggest expenditure, like he's a hero, like I'm spending $1 billion. Of course, it's over 10 years, but whatever.
Well, let's do the math.
Yeah, let's look into it. So it's $100 million per year. And first, before you get to that, I did a little bit of sleuthing, okay? So last year, the top 5 named executive officers at Delta, including Ed Bastian, they received about $41 million in options and stock vesting just last year. And they were granted an additional $30 million more in stock.
Let's pretend, though,
$71 million right there for 5 individuals.
Let's pretend, though, that they get paid whatever they get paid, and this is a totally separate issue. Let's pretend Delta paid $940 million in dividends last year. Their total cash out for dividends was $940 million. So
that covers the whole cost of the 10-year program to go carbon.
He's effectively saying Delta can help save the world if it doesn't pay dividends for 1 year. If shareholders don't get, and that's not share price appreciation, that's just dividends. If Delta decided to not pay dividends for 1 year, We
Yeah,
can
and that's
we
yeah.
can eliminate Delta's carbon.
And this is why I call bullshit on this money question, because jump to clip 6, because this is how he sums up this program.
This is not a race to be number one in this space. This is a race for our planet, and we want to make sure that we're as open to all stakeholders that want to join us on this mission as possible.
It's a
race for our planet.
It's a race to the planet. We have to go. We need to go fast to race for the planet. We're just going to wait 10 years, and it would only take us 1 year. This is where the divide is between the stakeholder conversation and reality, because the planet doesn't necessarily have 10 years to wait for any company to go carbon. And we're using Delta here unfairly as an example because they just happen to be on CNBC.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. By the way, bravo, Ed, for dropping the stakeholder buzzword. That's the word of 2020. But let's go back. Let's just finish this up. Play clip 5. Let's talk a little bit more about the money angle of this.
The great news for Delta is you're doing great, Ed, and relatively flush. Other airlines are not necessarily in your situation.
You're doing great, Ed.
So the CNBC. So the reporter here, his perspective is like, okay, well, Delta's rich, so they can afford to save the planet. But what about the other airlines who aren't doing as well? They can't help save the planet.
Can you imagine? Okay, the Business Roundtable, if they wanted to be serious about the stakeholder buzzword, if every one of those companies paid 0 in dividends for 1 year and took all of that money to be carbon neutral, you'd have a significantly larger impact on saving stakeholders in the planet than any CNBC rhetoric you could possibly. It doesn't take you being rich to do it. You are currently paying out to investors, and investors have benefited, are the only ones who benefit from those dividends. They're the only ones who benefit from those dividends.
Well, that's a perfect highlight of the shareholder versus stakeholder debate right there.
If you took 30% of what you're paying in dividends and stock buybacks and just funneled it into carbon neutral or funneled it into communities or education I'm not talking about philanthropy. I'm just talking about, like, these are largely companies who also pay the de minimis tax that they can.
Yeah.
You hire 400 accountants and you move, deferred tax assets around to limit your tax liability. All of that energy and effort you could just basically say, well, just don't pay dividends for a year, Delta, and you're carbon neutral.